Well, good evening, everyone. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here with Southern Indiana weather. Much to talk about tonight. Winter storm watches and warnings have been issued for the area now. The entire area underneath of a winter storm watch. Parts of our area now underneath of a winter storm warning. Pike and Gibson and Spencer, Warwick, Vanderburgh, and Posey now underneath of a warning. And I believe the whole area will be upgraded to a warning as time goes on, most likely by tomorrow afternoon for sure, probably even tomorrow morning. So just understand that it's coming, and the reason why it's been upgraded to a warning is because, frankly, we have a mess on our situation. Let's take a look at the current surface map and radar. It's about 7:40 p.m. here on Wednesday night. At the time, let me just sort of label some features for you. And I don't understand why that's doing that, but here we go. We got a low pressure centered up in here. We got another low pressure that's centered back into here. And remember that I told you yesterday we would have a low that would be developing in here, and essentially you have the polar jet stream that's taking a dip this way. You have the subtropical jet that was moving this way, and I told you right in this area you would have those two systems that were phasing together, and they have phased together, and you've got a low that's developing. You've even got a little bit of precipitation now starting to show up in the Rocky Mountains. Right here you also have a very powerful cold front that's poised to move through our area. It'll move through our area overnight, and what it's going to do is actually stall out right over here, and the low as it moves through will eventually move through like this, and the low will essentially ride up this cold front, and that will as it comes through with plenty of moisture coming up from the Gulf of Mexico, and a big bubble of cold air from up here moving down in that we've talked about is going to make an absolute wintry mess for us, to say the least. And let me show you why. Let me show you why we got a wintry mess here. And first off, I want to show you, let me take off the radar and we'll take off the current things. The models, as I've been talking about, have done sort of a, well, honestly, they've done kind of a poor job handling the the shallow cold layer that I've been mentioning to you. And it is bitter cold, but let me just show you why. Let me throw on, not the overlay, let me go to the model fill. And this is where the GFS model from this morning showed that we should have the cold weather coming into by now, and the first blue line here is the freezing line. Well, let me show you what it is actually right now, and so this is about 30 minutes old, but it gives you the idea here, and it was the same 30 minutes ago. Let me just put this on and show you where it's actually at. You see a difference there? You have right in here, and just to the east of Des Moines and going down right through Kansas City, it says at this time it should be just getting to 32 degrees. If I just throw on the observations, Kansas City's already at 26 degrees. The models are saying it should only be at 32 degrees. And if I throw on where that 32 degree line, freezing line is, it is much further, already into mid-Missouri. And of course, it was only supposed to be beginning to get into the Missouri by this time. My point being with this is the models are taking this cold air surge in much faster, much slower than is actually occurring. So that's a good thing, because that could actually lessen our ice accumulation that we've been talking about, and that certainly is a real threat that we could get some ice accumulation. But if we could get that colder air in first, that's going to be less of an ice accumulation and more of a heavier snow accumulation possibility. So that's something that we will have to trend as the time goes on. Let's take a look at some precipitation types and time this all out, because that's the one thing that we want to do is go through this data and talk about when everything's going to happen. Okay, so we'll look at the latest run of the GFS's precipitation type. I think it's got a reasonable handle on this right now. Again, the timing may be a little bit off on this, and we'll adjust for that. But here we are right now. We're going into Thursday. Here's by 1 p.m. on Thursday, and we move in. By 7 p.m. on Thursday, what you'll notice is we've already got an icy mess starting over southern Illinois and starting to spread a little bit here into southern Indiana. And keep in mind here that the blue is snow, but this orange color right here is sleet. Green obviously is rain, and this red is freezing rain. So the red is what we really don't want. We don't want sleet either, really, for that matter. But you know, the reality is I'll take sleet over freezing rain any day. But as we put this into motion, here we are by 1 a.m. and you notice sleet is starting to overtake the area, and then it's starting to turn to an all snow scenario by 7 a.m. in our northern tier of counties. We still have some sleet, but not a whole lot of freezing rain for us to deal with. You notice there's the freezing rain threat more towards a little narrow band here towards Paducah and down in western Kentucky as this day moves on. And then by 1 o'clock on Friday, it is transitioned on this model over to an all snow setup. Here we are by 7 p.m. and it's still a fairly heavy snow. Even by 1 a.m. on Saturday morning, we notice that the snow is just starting to come to an end. And that, by the way, is the first round that we're going to have to deal with. What we've actually got coming behind this, and I'll go ahead and show you this while I'm on this map, we've got another round that we could be dealing with on Sunday. Here we'll start it out by 7 a.m. on Sunday morning, and you notice a pretty significant freezing rain event moving into southern Kentucky already. A little bit of sleet and a little bit of snow mixing in behind that. And then as you go up, you notice that freezing rain by 1 o'clock on Sunday starts to overtake Indiana, and we keep that freezing rain around here even by 6 p.m. And here we are at 1 a.m. on Monday morning. The freezing rain's still around, and we're not completely clear of this until early Monday morning. So Sunday, frankly, could be a very rough weather. And actually, I don't have ice accumulation totals to show you here, but if we just go by the models, we could end up talking about a ½ an inch of ice accumulation possible on Sunday. So this could be an even a greater winter weather event for us on Sunday than what this is. So that's certainly something that we are going to have to monitor. Let's talk about a timeline for this as far as things go right now, because this is something that we most definitely want to time out and to take a look at. And if I can get the right graphic up here for you. Goodness, there we go. Having some problems tonight. This is a timeline graphic that I've posted out to our Southern Indiana weather site, or actually I haven't yet, but I will be, probably will by the time this video is up and out. But here's what you can expect. I'm thinking, of course, you noticed in those models that we didn't start to transition until really about 1 a.m. or so to that sleet mix. I've moved the timeline up to about 9 p.m. Remember, that cold air is moving in a whole lot faster than the models are expecting, so I'm moving it forward. And it may be that at 9 o'clock that we are still on the safe side, but I want to be a little bit more on the conservative side on this and plan ahead in advance. So really, anytime after 9 p.m. on Thursday is whenever I think this event could begin. That's when the light sleet will begin. And then on early Friday morning, sometime that wintry mix, and by the way, that slight sleet could include a little bit of freezing rain, but I think most of the freezing rain threat is going to stay down more in toward the Kentucky area. I think it's more sleet in this area, but we could be wrong, and it could be a freezing rain scenario as well, but it looks more like sleet to me at this point. Either way, ice is bad. By Friday morning, sometime in the early morning hours between, I've put 5 and 10 a.m. Again, I know that's a wide open time range, but we've got a lot of time to cover. It'll be earlier in the northwest sections of our area, towards Vincennes and Knox County, and then by the time we get to our southern sections, Spencer County, Perry County, Crawford County, DuBois County, down in those neck of the woods, it will be a little bit later. But that wintry mix will transition to an all-snow setup. And then overnight on Saturday, Friday night into Saturday morning, sometime overnight, probably by 4 a.m., could be earlier, the light snow will end. And then, of course, we've got that Sunday morning threat that we have to deal with, where we could have a very significant sleet and freezing rain event. So that's sort of a general and very basic timeline for us as far as things are going to go. Let's talk about snowfall accumulations. As far as ice accumulations are going with sleet, right now it's looking like 1/4 of an inch or less for us. So not a huge event, but that's certainly enough that it could do some very rough problems for us on the road. And again, the bigger threat on the freezing precipitation looks to be on the Sunday morning thing, but we'll deal with that when we get there, one system at a time. Certainly looking like a heavy snow threat for us, though. If we take a look at the GFS model, this is accumulated snowfall, what the GFS sees through Saturday at 1 p.m., and you notice a very, very heavy snow band setting up for us right over the area, and that's not going to bode well for us. And this is, potentially even 6 to 10 inches in parts of this. European model, I can switch it to Indiana view, which I don't have the opportunity for on the GFS. You can see some gets us a little bit closer, but you notice very heavy snow totals on here, even 8 inches in parts of it. So that's consistent with the GFS, heavy snow band right over southern Indiana. If you look at the Canadian model, which has been the most consistent of all of them in my opinion, again, heavy snow band, a good 6, maybe even up to 10 inches or even 12 inches in parts, in isolated cases on the Canadian. And really, if you take a look at the high resolution NAM now, you're seeing that same type of a thing. And right along the Ohio River, it's pushed the heavier snow band maybe just a little further south than the rest of them. But again, it's this idea that a very, very, very heavy snow band could be setting up. Let me show you why that could be setting up here. And apologize if it seems a little jumpy. I had to pull up this graphic. But what we're looking at here is the jet stream for the time frame that we're looking at for this winter storm. And basically you're looking at wind speeds high up in the atmosphere, 30 to 40,000 feet. And you notice that we have a good 100 to 100, even 120 knot wind over us. That right there, of course, was something that we look at for severe weather, and if there were some other factors in play. But we're not looking at severe weather this time. But what I want you to notice is the same thing as towards severe weather. Whenever we have a jet streak over us like this, we have good lift in the atmosphere, and that lift creates heavy precipitation. Well, it's the same thing with snow, and I'm worried that this could create some heavy snow bands because we've got such good lift in the atmosphere. And so that's one of those reasons why we're going to have to really watch out for this, and it's going to be a now tracking scenario where we're really just going to have to track where those heavy snow bands end up setting up. So how much snow are we talking about? Let me pull up my snow graphic just to give you an idea. This is my latest thinking on this. Right now I've gone conservatively with 4 to 8 inches plus of snow for most of our area, along with ice accumulation possible in the yellow lines. Now, this could be a little bit conservative, and again, but that's why I put the plus sign in there. Could go higher to this, but I think on minimum, most of us are looking at 4 inches, and I think, realistically, if the way the models have been trending, I wouldn't be surprised to see this be a little bit even higher, with a lot of us getting at least 6 inches out of this. So we're talking about a potential major winter storm here unless something changes. If you take a look at probabilities of at least 4 inches of accumulation, they've got us in a moderate risk zone, the Weather Prediction Center has, even a high risk zone for parts of the area. And if you're talking about greater than 8 inches of snow accumulation, they've put us in a slight risk zone for that as well. So even the folks at the Weather Prediction Center of the National Weather Service are thinking this is going to be a very significant event, and certainly going to be cold enough for it. The other thing that we want to look at lastly is the temperatures, because that's going to be the other big thing with this event. And remember, I showed you this timeline yesterday, but understand the biggest thing that you need to know here is that it's going to be just absolutely bitter cold. And as we take a look at this, you notice what this is essentially a temperature series line over time as you go through here, and you can just pretty much just ignore these, and I can explain it to you. But this red line here is the freezing line, and the black line down here on your low temperatures is the 0 degree line. And what I want you to understand is that we stay below freezing much of the time frame over the next 10 days. We're talking bitter cold temperatures. We even go below 0 at parts according to this model in time. So in fact, if we just look at temperatures after all this is done with the second ice event, it takes us down to 2 degrees according to the Euro model on Tuesday morning. And if we advance it in time a little bit even past that, by Wednesday morning, we're still looking at single digits. But if you go into Thursday morning, man, it's got us at 5 below. So we're talking some absolutely bitter cold temperatures. GFS is also green. By Thursday morning, it has us at -8. So really some of the coldest air that we have seen in really several years, because the past few years we just really haven't had a winter, in my opinion, is coming to us. And if you take a look at the GFS ensembles for the next 15 days temperature spread, what you notice is just kiss the 60s goodbye, because it is ridiculously cold from here on out. Some high temperatures won't even get above 20 according to this graphic. Go to southernindianaweather.com. You can always check out my forecast, and I'm only forecasting 46 tomorrow, and that's conservative estimate. Temperatures will be falling through the 40s during the day, likely into the 30s by the upper to mid 30s by the time your evening commute, and certainly below freezing after dark. And that's when we're really going to have to worry about this time frame. Only 28 on Friday, and again, I think 4 to 8 inches plus of snow accumulation is looking likely with this system. Sunday, we're looking at that next wintry mix of precipitation. I do believe significant ice accumulations are likely with this, so watch out for us. And then the bitter cold temperatures move in next week with only a high of 16, and look at that low, down to 6 degrees on Monday night and 3 degrees on Tuesday night. Folks, this is just bitter cold temperatures, and again, the coldest era of the season so far and for years is on the way. Keep it right here to Southern Indiana Weather. I will have more updates as time goes by. For Southern Indiana Weather, I'm meteorologist Michael Wilhite. Have a great night, folks.